Speaking of gangs, I recently interviewed King Tone, who's the former leader of the Latin Kings.
Right.
Being in New York and being in New York prisons, I assumed that you were around a lot of Latin Kings.
Definitely.
What was interesting, during our conversation, and I don't know if you saw the interview, but it was a pretty interesting interview. He got real upset during certain times, and he got very emotional about certain topics that we spoke about. But we talked about how the Latin Kings were considered the most organized gang. Like, they had a very specific structure where people had to answer to other people. There's a hierarchy, there's rules, there's regulations, and you just didn't see that in a lot of other gangs.
Right.
What did you notice about the Latin Kings that was different?
I just saw like that the Latin, well, if you compare them to like the black gangs, because that's basically what you had in there. You had the Latins and you had the blacks in prison. That was basically the majority in there. I feel like the Latinos, the Latin gangs, they had more of their culture. Like, meaning like they came from, Puerto Rico or wherever else, and they had like their, they had more of a solid, they stuck together more. They looked out for each other more. When the Latins came in, you know what I mean? No matter who they are, no matter what they are, they gave them food, they gave them whatever soap, whatever they needed to they looked out for each other. And I saw that the black population was more like they didn't really do that. You know what I'm saying? They really just looked out for whoever gangs that they were in, whatever, stuff like that. So I felt like there was more structure in terms of that. You know what I mean? Like the Latins just stuck together a little bit more, and that definitely trickled. That definitely showed in their gang structure and all of that too, as well. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. I mean, King Tone was actually addicted to crack and couldn't read while he was in Rikers, and those guys took him in and basically saved him.
An old school king pulled me to the side and said, I seen you, you prove, you fire that, but you're stupid. You really don't know what you want, right? He knew. Read this. And when I couldn't read, he said, that's why you mad, because you're stupid? And I never heard somebody tell it to me like that. You just mad because you're stupid, but then he gave me the food. You come from great people like Lolita Lebron, Oscar. He told me what Puerto Rico was, but my mother and father never took the time because they were so busy. I found an identity in not the kings, in the history of my being told by a Latin king who learned it that way. Some people join these groups because they lost and they want to be found. Some join for protection because they scared of jail. Some join whatever. I joined because it was what made me feel right. I read the Bible 100 times. I was in Teen Challenge, all that shit. None of that touched me. Like that man's gracious love when I was in my lowest point.
Right.
And he rose through the ranks and became the leader of the New York Latin Kings. And the guy that really passed the baton to him was this guy named King Blood. Are you familiar with this story at all?
Yeah.
King Blood, I guess, was ultimately convicted of ordering hits in prison, using letters and so forth, coded language. He was sentenced to 250 years, with the first 45 years in solitary confinement, where he was only allowed to see immediate family members, of which he had none.
Right.
This was the harshest sentence since World War II.
Right, that's crazy.
Have you ever heard of sentences like this, like to that extent?
I mean, not really like that. That's pretty harsh. What did they give Pistol Pete? I don't know if they gave him that much, but I know they gave him something. They gave him pretty harsh sentence too, because he was doing that too.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not actually able to find it, but yeah, it's pretty crazy. And one of the things that really kind of stood out with the Latin King story was, I guess, the level of viciousness around the gang. At one point, kind of a war broke out between kind of like, the leadership in New York. And they found this one guy who was a Latin King member. They had killed him, cut out the Latin King tattoo on his body, burned him, decapitated him, and they never found his head.
Wow.
Yeah. This is the type of thing that was going on. Did you see that kind of thing where it's like, look, we're a certain gang or a certain crew with like, okay, we're gonna be so overly violent, so over the top, to just send a message to everyone that we're the craziest ones out here.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely more like that. When we were coming up, like in the '80s, early '90s, definitely, because everybody, you're surrounded by like, by savages. You know what I'm saying? So in that world, the most gruesome, the most violent wins. You know what I'm saying? So that's who's in control. So when you're dealing with that type of people, you have to like really set your mark. So I definitely seen, I seen that type of stuff when I was coming up. You know what I mean? That was all over. That was with the Latin Kings, but that was in all neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? When I was coming up, you had the BTK. You know what I'm saying? In Chinatown, the Born to Kills, and they were like So what happened in Chinatown at that time was the Chinese was already in Chinatown. You know what I'm saying? But then here comes the Vietnamese after the Vietnam War. The refugees came in. So when they came in, they already came from this type of environment, this type of, war-torn environment. And that's what they grew up in. So when they came into Chinatown, they were doing stuff like that, killing people cold blood. You know what I'm saying? They were like, throwing grenades inside the police vehicles. You know what I'm saying? They would just, they would really make their presence be known. You know what I mean? And I think New York City at that time was like really flooded with that. Like you really saw that a lot. You know what I mean? Like, or if you didn't see it, you heard about it. It was like really, it was prevalent.
Crazy, throwing grenades into cop cars.
Right.
Wow. Okay. Well, China Mac, always a pleasure when we get together. Make sure you check out that new song with Method Man, Wu-Tang Remix.
Right. Make sure you go check that out. And come check out my channel, China Mac TV. Pull up to my channel, you know what I'm saying, where I tell, I tell stories, prison stories. I got Mac Eats, where I eat food. And I get off of parole in about a couple weeks. I just came back from getting my passport, so it's gonna be a big thing for me. Like, I haven't been off of parole, off of paper, since I was like 15 years old.
Oh, so you about to go to China?
Yeah, I'm definitely about to go to China. I'm definitely just about to go around. So like, and what I mean by off paper is like I've been in some type of paper, like institution. I was in probation, parole, in prison, juvenile, whatever. I haven't been off completely since I was 15 years old. So I'm finally about to get off, and it's about to be a great thing. And I'm about to just, start showing me just living life, like, you know what I mean? Just enjoying, all of the things that I wasn't able to, for most of my life. You know what I mean? Just traveling, just picking up and going to somewhere and just trying the food and just doing different things. So I'm definitely about to start doing that on my channel, and pull up to China Mac TV and, see a success story, man, a real success story. You know what I'm saying?
That's what it is, man. That's what it is. Well, congrats on everything you're doing. Every time I see you, you're doing well. It seems like you've, gradually improved your whole situation since we originally met, which is right when you first got out of prison.
Right.
And, man, I love to see that. I absolutely love it, man. So
thank you, bro. And again, man, thank you for the opportunities, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Of course, man. My pleasure. Until next time.
All right.
Peace.